We finally make our way to David Seraph, who's still doing his best Kermit and Thunderbirds impression. He wants to help those in the room, but can't, and Adam is trying to explain to him that the chaos of what happened in the tower is global.
If people realize what's happened, if they believe augmentation technology created this chaos, they'll ban human enhancement research forever.
That might be jumping the gun a bit, but Seraph is so pro-augment that he's bound to make some emotional generalizations.
We'd have to get a message out after you shut down Hugh's signal. Tell the world, tell them the Humanity Front did this. That their doctors created a virus that only affects augmented people.
Seraph wants to send out a message similar to how Taggart wanted to lie about contaminated drugs, but in this case he wants Adam to say that Taggart's Humanity Front's doctors created a virus that affects augmented people. And why does he want to do this?
You mean lie?
It'll give us time, son. Time to figure out how to destroy the Illuminati's biochips and move on.
So Seraph wants to lie to people about a virus that was sent out, which is arguably more believable than Taggart's idea of the entire planet doping up on faulty drugs at exactly the same time. However, it's rather flawed because any decent surgeon, forensic scientist, a coroner, a computer networking security guy will eventually figure out the truth just by either investigating the chip upgrade or discovering that Hugh Darrow's signal wasn't a virus, or by talking to augments who didn't get the biochip upgrade, or doing an autopsy or a biopsy, or any other series of situations where people are trying to determine how Skynet became active. And if that lie is discovered, and there's a good chance it will be, it'll just piss people off about augments even more. This is not something you want to risk when a World War III level of conflict has potentially been started. Even by Adam's standards, he just wants to help people, not lie to them to just buy time. So while this plan isn't really that smart, it's probably the best one we have so far, and considering what kind of person David Seraph is and the circumstances he's in, it kind of makes sense. But let's keep in mind, we don't know what kind of message we're going to send, what format, or even how, because, again, our main task is to shut down the current signal that Hugh Darrow's been sending, which may involve destroying hardware, thus preventing any signal from being sent out. Are we going to have a press briefing? Are we going to contact the heads of state of each country for a later date, maybe? What exactly does Seraph, Taggart, or even Adam have in mind here? We obviously can't send a signal if we are in fact shutting down the entire broadcasting equipment at the base of the tower. Are we going to stop the signal and then pump out our own into every augment's chipped head? How exactly would that work? Or is Adam going to grab a microphone and start recording? You see, the story is prodding us in a direction that raises a lot of questions, trying to tell us that this is a big deal, that they want something to happen, that it's going to happen, even though there's no reason for the player to do so, or even for Adam to do so. You could see this as a bad form of foreshadowing. It's probably just poor exposition in general, though. So we eventually make our way to a series of elevators, and our last elevator looks like a freight elevator, and if you look up, we can actually see that Adam could have simply jumped to the point from the top of Manchea, or wherever he was at the top, and after talking to Darrow and opening the blast doors, if that was ever a problem for this point, and along, of course, with the Icarus landing system, we could have just bypassed the entire tower. So we walk down a corridor filled with all kinds of dead people, and we enter a large room.
What the hell?
What the hell indeed. For some reason, a door port opens, and we see a female bound to it. A computer voice says,
"Drop 4, disconnected."
Which is a good indication that this is the Chiron project. In the room, we met Seraph. The third email, entitled Chiron Core Rules, describes how to maintain and check on the status of color of some people's flesh, their hands, their visible skin, as well as manually checking for their pulse. To repeat this 2 other times, which implies 3 people or 3 drones. Still, it's rather shocking to see. Regarding quantum computers, this is a curious type of rendering. What does a quantum computer need 3 human drones for? Surely science fiction can come up with reasons, but none that I'm aware of are actually given in the story. Luckily, an entire DLC called The Missing Link tells a weird story about that, but I won't get into that. It's just interesting to see that DLC fills in gaps in the story's continuity. One thing that's worth mentioning is that it sort of explains Hugh Darrow's insanity here. He was willing to sacrifice at least 3 of these people's lives, or make that at least 15 people in total, since there are 4 other Pancheas throughout the world being constructed, all to solve the concept of global warming, whatever that involves. Now, What these computers are doing isn't exactly clear, but at least it shows us that Darrow was nuts from a while ago. That he had a personality that would entertain going to lethal extremes, and all this time pushing the WW3 button now doesn't seem too far off. That's actually a good thing. It's a bit of an indirect lampshade on the mental state of an issue for a character we're probably not thinking about right now, but at least it's there. And then Zhao pops in because, she must have taken a rocket to Pangaea 2 immediately before we did, of course.
Connecting to Pangaea's Chiron project, Mr. Jensen. The most advanced quantum computer slave to the human brain, and the closest to perfection we'll ever achieve.
Some kind of giant tentacle creature. But, it was just so... And that raises the question of, if video games are a medium for storytelling.
Okay there, Squaresoft boss. Delusions of godhood aside, Zhao wants to connect to Helios, I mean Chiron, to become as close as perfect as possible, or something. What does this have to do with anything? When was this Zhao's goal? When did Chiron become a quantum computer that's a slave to a human mind? Isn't that the exact opposite, considering there are 3 human drones that Chiron needs to operate and they're not exactly in control? And wouldn't Chiron still need to keep doing things like keeping the systems of the tower going, whatever those systems do? So either Darrow is crazy, like really crazy, and spent all his money and time on making 3 computer systems to somehow solve global warming via iron seeding or whatever, and that needed 3 human brains, or that was all a lie, and he just wanted to make some weird computer for some reason, or Zhao is crazy and doesn't know what she's talking about, or she knows something about Chiron that we don't. Considering we don't really know what Chiron does or what its main function is, I'm going to hope she has something sensible to say next.
I'm going to use it to hack Darrow's signal and rework the message to our benefit.
Okay, why do you need to merge with the quantum computer to hack a radio message? Isn't there a simpler method? Does that mean Adam has to hack into Chiron too? Is that the only way to do this? Can't you just stop the current message, then make your own, and then send that, all without becoming perfect or doing unnecessarily complex stuff you've never done before just to solve a networking problem? Why are you doing this?
But, it was just so...
So all these mechanical tendrils just inject themselves into Zhao's spine, and then you have to stop and think, what the hell does she need all these USB ports or whatever across her spine? Why not just one? And wouldn't you have to be naked all the time if you ever wanted to use them all? Was that switch or router in the corner just too cluttered for her? And hey, you know what? I've got an idea. Let's put that on our spine. It's just a lot more convenient that way. Did she help design Chiron? Was this her master plan? Get some spine upgrade that gives her multiple ports. What was wrong with the wireless Wi-Fi? Why couldn't she just use Wi-Fi? Like, how the hell are those girls connected to the computer? What is the function and operation of these 2 giant arms and all these other little ones, aside from only this point in time? And why are they behind a bulletproof glass? I mean, can you see how contrived this is all becoming? Okay, so then the tendrils pick her up by her ports, which are connected to her spine, which is either extremely painful or, well, maybe not because she's an augment, which I thought would kill someone, but, technology. I don't recall the story telling us about networking or augmented spinal recovery or replacement tech also having mechanical engineers design physical load balancing that involves leverage so that you can be hung by your vertebrae. But whatever, we'll go with that. So then the Ethernet or maybe optical cables start glowing red, which means a computer failure or did we just wake up to another Saturday morning?
The system won't recognize my chip. Neural systems offline. Rerouting control of energy. I can't control Iron.
Oh, great. Chips. What chip would that be? Is it the Taiyang medical one? Because, yeah, that was your bad idea and you should have known about that. But why would a quantum computer care about your chip? Didn't you say it was a slave to a human mind? Didn't you conduct tests before you tried this extremely dangerous and invasive procedure? And if it was a chip, Why wouldn't it detect it previously, like before you decided to jack your vertebrae into the Matrix so you wouldn't have this problem? Are you physically stuck now? Does USB 12.0 have physical locks? Like, can't you just pull yourself out? Why would the security system with robotic arms detect an intruder and then trap them? What's the security protocol here for chip detection, and how couldn't you know it considering your company designed the damn thing? Wait, was that lip syncing? Are you talking to yourself? Are you having a hardware meltdown? Are we just missing dialogue here? Maybe this was Eidos's foreseen attempt at doing multiple languages and thus just kept one pre-rendered animation cutscene for English? Or was the animation team or the sound recording team lazy? Who's to blame here? Anyway, so Jensen wants to save the three girls, and I don't know how that'll work or how they even live. They're bound in there, and according to the lore, they have their spines removed. What is up with this story and spines? Anyway, Zhao thinks she's in control. Adam shoots her. There's this white smoke thing. It's probably bulletproof glass. And then a machine gun just pops up and starts shooting at Adam. Now, there are a few ways of stopping this boss, and I'm not going to get into the gameplay here, because Zhao never shuts up. All kinds of events just start happening, and it's kind of messy, which is, well, it's a letdown for a boss battle. You can literally just input Darrow's code, chill out for about 2 minutes, and then just pump her full of your choice of weapon once the bulletproof glass wall explodes. Then Zhao's mouth and eyes emit light like a flashlight, and then she explodes. So, of course, in order to get to the control room, we had to go past Zhao, and that's where we go. And then we get that cool one-liner Eliza said in the first trailer, which is oddly out of place here.
Hello, Adam. Welcome to the edge. It is not the end of the world, but you can see it from here.
Really? I can see 3 screens here. Where's the end of the world? Aren't we trying to stop World War III? Or perhaps this is an analogy that once we stop World War III, there's going to be a new world. And why is Eliza even here? How is she here? Didn't we just fry or break the tower's main computer? Well, I guess not, since we still have to stop the signal, which I guess is running on a backup computer or something like that.
Eliza? What are you doing here?
It is my job to monitor and report on the news, Adam. Before Darrow smothered everything with his signal, the whole world was tuned into this place, including me.
So you couldn't get a signal in here? I've never heard of a signal being sent out that's so powerful that no other radio signal can get through because, that's not how the electromagnetic spectrum works across a gaseous medium. Maybe water. Maybe Darrow was also making a jamming signal, but that wasn't mentioned as far as I know. But if she's just monitoring, how did Eliza commandeer this console, and why is she here if she just wanted to listen and report the news? More importantly, do we really need another character just for Jensen's quest to be finished? This is essentially removing Jensen's voice, his faculties, all that agency because the creators wanted to. There's really no reason for this when every opportunity should be given to the player and what kind of choices they wish to make through their character.
The broadcast. I have to stop it.
Why? Must he die? Why within 8 days? Explain.
Maybe Tefexis was really, trying to ham it up, but, why is Adam struggling here with this sentence? It was so out of place. We know Adam's desperate, but this scene does not warrant that level of Shatner.
I know. Please, come closer. Do you know where we are, Adam?
Notice how Adam, or rather the first-person camera, doesn't actually change its position.
We are at the fulcrum point, when society lies in the balance. Hugh Darrow hoped to tip the scales one way.
No, we're in a control room at the bottom of the ocean trying to stop World War III. We just need to stop the broadcast. We don't need to do anything else. The Canadian in me might want to apologize and maybe tell the world what just happened, but that's it.
By telling the world everything you already know. About the biochip, the Illuminati, everything.
No, he didn't. He went crazy. He turned everyone into a mindless killing machine. If he just wanted to tell people about the biochip, the Illuminati, or everything else, he had every opportunity. He had a press conference. He didn't do that. Are you even paying attention, miss? I just want to report the news.
He believed knowing the truth would convince mankind to abandon research into human enhancement technologies forever.
Perhaps, or he could be seen as an insane murderer, which could prompt other scientists and engineers to try harder and better, and oh yeah, they wouldn't try killing everyone.
It would certainly give them reason to fear it.
Indeed. Darrow's confession is ready to send. If you want, I can wideband it across all media as soon as you shut down the signal.
When did Darrow make a confession? He never said anything about a confession when we were talking to him. And when and how did Eliza get it? Now, we do know that Darrow's dad owned the company Eliza was made from, or was born from, but was Darrow in control of Eliza, and did he command her to broadcast a confession sometime during or after the crazy Holocaust he just made? Would that even be heard at all? And who would listen to it? I mean, is it a normal broadcast? Is it sent into their brains? Like, what is actually going on here? Are we just going to take her word for it?
Everything you worked so hard to uncover will be exposed. But only if you deactivate the broadcast using this control.
While that's great, everything Adam worked so hard for wouldn't be entailed because it's Darrow's message, Darrow's information, or his confession, or whatever's in it, and not Adam's data or his investigation. They may all point to an Illuminati trying to control everyone, but it's certainly not as a result of Adam's efforts. Adam just happens to be here. Once again, player and protagonist agency has been removed from the story. Adam is just a pawn.
However, if you desire, I can alter Darrow's message. Conceal the creation of the biochip while putting in new content.
Content blaming the humanity front, like Sarah suggested.
The organization has already admitted to harboring terrorists. It would be easy to convince people they turn to biological warfare in a more desperate attempt to get rid of augmented people.
But why? What would that achieve?
In time, it could shift the focus of hatred onto people whose prejudices are seen as too extreme, leaving corporations free to experiment with human evolution as they desire. But if you want me to perform this edit for you, you must disengage the signal and activate the video edit function from here.
Okay, so here's our other option. So we'll use Darrow's likeness or his confession message and alter it to enact Sarah's plan of saying it was Humanity Front's people who sent out a virus causing everyone to go nuts. But think about it. Do we really want Hugh Darrow, the guy who started the mess, everyone knows he did it, to be the voice of reason, truth, and believability by telling a lie? He just confessed to a live broadcast in an apologetic way about causing everyone to go rampaging. And now he's going to say, oh yeah, it's totally Humanity's Front's. Yeah, they hijacked this message. I was apologizing because they forced me or something.
Alternatively, Darrow's message can be adjusted to erase all mention of the power group known as the Illuminati. I can report that lack of proper regulation allowed vast quantities of neuropozyne to become contaminated prior to reaching the market.
Taggart's preference. You think the world will buy a made-up story about neuropozyne poisoning?
It wasn't a good idea in the first place, but now that's going to be an altered version of Darrow's message, and Taggart never mentioned anything about removing the topic of the Illuminati from the message. He was actually chiding Adam on that no one would ever believe in some 18th century conspiracy theory anyway. So what message is this? Is it Taggart's? Is it Adam's? Is it part of Darrow's? Did Eliza just make this up? Why can't we just make up our own message?
You might be surprised by what people believe. I can convince them. And having experienced the negative effects of corporate negligence firsthand, a majority of people might force the world to place harsh restrictions on all human enhancement research.
You know, I know the title of this game is Deus Ex, but I was really hoping they wouldn't actually use it here. Okay, so this is her reasoning, because she thinks she can convince them. Shouldn't computers be a little bit more accurate, like really smart and no stats and no probability? A majority of people might convince their governments to do something. Sure, like locally, maybe some people felt the negative effects of corporate negligence, but over a clearly made up fantasy about a gigantic shipment of shoddy neuropozyne that everyone on the planet took at the same time, for that lie to work, it would need to be something that would happen worldwide, like every government, or maybe a UN mandate and not every country is a member of the UN, or do they follow UN directives, all of that are part of them? So these things don't just happen overnight. Not everyone on the planet listens to Eliza Cassan. This is such a stretch that the number of if this and then this and then this and as on and on we go is so long that the only end result is a potential restrictions on augmentations tech. The chances of this happening is so slim, it's not even well explained. She could have easily have said, I can influence world governments with the data I have by whatever XYZ reasoning she has. We don't get that.
But only if you disengage the signal and activate the video edit function from here. Of course, there is another option. This passage leads to Panchaea's pressure regulation controls. Destroy them and the installation will cave in on itself, overwhelmed by the weight of the ocean pressing against it. Everyone inside the structure will die.
Which are currently offline because we totally messed up Chiron, the computer controlling these things, right? Or, wait, was Chiron designed to do that? Or maybe those things are on backups? I don't know anymore. After what Zhao told us about it being a slave to human mind and what's going on now, nothing in this scene is believable.
That's a solution?
Thank you. That's the reaction. Adam is giving us the right one. What the hell, game?
No one will be left to tell the world what happened, Adam. Nobody will be able to spin the story.
And weren't you just about to spin the story yourself? Why isn't it the fourth option to simply stop the signal and walk away? Why do we have to blow up the tower and kill everyone? What's the reason behind this? Why are we listening to this crazy lady? What is wrong with these options? Would a player trying to get a non-lethal playthrough even consider this? Would someone who despises Hugh Darrow want to become a smaller version of him? Adam even argued against Hugh Darrow about all of these things. What was the point of sneaking around people if you're just going to kill everyone in the building anyway? The other two options are just giant lies for not very good reasons. Why can't we just choose to stop the signal and walk away? Or simply tell the truth about using, without having Darrow's confession? Or just send a message of our choosing without Darrow's confession being a part of it, manipulated or not?
Including me.
The choice is yours. Do you believe you have the wisdom to choose an appropriate future for mankind? Or do you trust mankind to find the answers on its own?
Well, actually, I think I do, but not through any of the options you gave me. Well, if the do nothing and walk away was an option, that would have been nice, but we don't have that. We just have the murder everyone in the tower option, which is out of character for Adam, even if you were going for a lethal playthrough.